Welcome. I'm your host, Paula Scatoloni, the founder of Transformative Harmonics, a podcast that offers listeners a synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern science. Hello, welcome back to Transformative Harmonics. I'm Paula Scatoloni, your host. Before we start today, I'd like to invite you to take a few moments to slow down. If you haven't done this yet today, this is an opportunity to move yourself into a different gear. Take a look around. Start to find your back body. And feel the support of the chair, or the couch, or the ground. Just give yourself a moment until a natural, spontaneous breath occurs. This is usually the sign that the nervous system is resetting. Today's episode is going to be about music and the gene keys. Many of you know me from my work of using sound technology, and then other acoustic playlists that I curate. And I'm going to tie this into the gene keys just a bit. If you are not familiar with the gene keys, it's certainly something to look into at this time. It's a very exciting program and book and path of initiation into higher consciousness. It's written by mystic, poet, body worker, Richard Rudd, who's on a lot of podcasts right now, if you haven't seen him. If you're part of the Gene Key community and you have been exploring your spheres, you're starting to understand the world of frequency and words as frequency. And I'm here to take it a step further to talk about sound as frequency and what I'm learning about music and the Gene Keys and how it's tied together. So my exploration of the Gene Keys has been for about a year and a half now, of understanding how words create a frequency that support the unwinding and the emergence of aspects of us within our DNA that have not come forward yet. It's a pretty powerful program. And so in that exploration, I've explored my own G keys. My life's work is 64 and 63, so I'm on a very slow train. Which has a lot of stops and starts. And every time I think I'm getting my footing, the ground is pulled out from underneath me. So it takes a lot of patience. And people in my community have seen me re-emerge, within a week or 2 weeks or a month, taking a left turn, a right turn. And that's part of it. There's things move and evolve. With Gene Key 64, as you're coming more and more into the version of yourself that you are meant to be, and all of them do this really. And so it's a path of soul initiation and becoming a master listener and self-inquiry and self-contemplation. And I utilize the Gene Keys, but I also utilize music. That's my pathway of contemplation. In fact, most of you who know me know that I wake up with a playlist in my head every morning, most mornings, and I will write that playlist down and I will play that playlist. And I enter into a contemplative state with the music, and then I journal and start to get the story underneath the songs of why they're coming. So I do see it as a pathway of curating a relationship with our soul level guidance. And songs are stored in the same part of the brain as in the limbic system. And they can take you into deep emotional states and transcendent states even. And when I listen to songs now, I can hear the poetry in them and the messages in them that are coming far beyond the person who delivered the song. So it's a really amazing process to move into the metaphysics of music. It's what I would call it at this point. Music as a pathway to the soul. So if you love music and you are open to processing your emotions through music, my community tends to do a lot of that. And then lately, with the Gene Keys becoming more and more a part of my community, I'm finding the ways to use music for me in a way that really supports transformation. And the way I'm using it right now is with Gene Key 22. If you're a Gene Keys explorer, you know that pathway and that Gene Key is all about divine grace. Divine grace is about forgiveness and the power of forgiveness and the potentiality of what happens when we come into deep compassion and forgiveness with ourselves, heart-centeredness, to allow what needs to be seen, felt, and heard to be witnessed in the body. And Gene Key 22 also speaks about our collective shift of humanity and the wounds of humanity. And this is where the songs come in, because for several years I've been tracking songs, putting them into playlists for people, and offering them as healing opportunities for people. And I began to see them in relationship to some of the core wounds of humanity. And these wounds are wounds of, the first wound is repression, and then denial, shame, rejection, guilt, and separation. Right? So each of them has a way that they live in our body, and they are tied to our core wounds. And when I use music, the music takes us into those wounds to be with our shared collective story around the wounds. And it's similar. I started to play with this metaphor of the Aboriginal songlines, and songlines in that culture are stories of the land and the people. So because I work at a collective level, the music that I use and hear and bring forward from the unified field speaks to our collective narrative and the ways in which we have collectively suppressed, denied, shamed, rejected, and separated ourselves from our greater wisdom. And I love that music is a pathway for finding our way back to ourselves and for engaging in the Gene Keys journey in a way that feels, even though it is a powerful program, it also, we can take it another level deeper by exploring it through sound and music. So those are some things lately that I have been exploring, and why I wanted to talk about it today was because the first wound of humanity is fear. Well, it's repression, and then fear is a byproduct of repression. And I really feel like we hold fear in our bones. It's just a low current that's always there. And it causes us to do things and behave in ways that are not always in the best interests of everyone. It's a mobilizing energy that can cause us to move into states of fight or flight or freeze. It's a defensive energy. So it's when we are in those states, we disconnect from people and relationship. And if we get stuck in it, and if we're engaging in it, unknowingly, subconsciously, we get deeper and deeper into it, and we get stuck. We get stuck. And right now, our civilization and how Gene Key 22 and grace comes into this is the grace is a very expansive energy. It's could be illustrated by states of compassionate holding and this sense that everything's going to be okay and you can trust life, and no matter what you've done, you are loved. You know, it's kind of the essence of that ideal mother energy. And as it makes its way in now, it is a influencer around states of fear, because if we can tune into that frequency and find it, it can help us from getting stuck in that other contracted state. It also supports us in feeling a connection to something greater and enhances our ability to soften, to drop into a parasympathetic state and begin to listen to what's happening inside. So these are important, I think, things to know at this time, that there are other options than fear, and there are pathways for getting there, helping ourselves find that frequency. I'm not saying it's easy. We do need to slow down and quiet the nervous system, and there's many programs that help us to do that now. Just stepping outside in nature can be a really effective way to slow down the nervous system and start to quiet those bells and whistles for urgency. But so much of what I'm talking about is about relationship. Well, how do we know that we are in a consistent relationship with the world around us all the time, with something benevolent all the time? This is part of what our larger collective shift is about. This wisdom was built into indigenous wisdom, the awareness of who we are in the context of our surroundings. But we as a Western culture have lost that. Well, we did have it at one point, because we are all, at the end of the day, tribal beings. So part of our returning and what we talk about in my community is, how do we remember some of the ways in which we were more connected to one another, to the land, to the cosmos, and how do we find our way back to that? And how can sound be a pathway for helping us at this time? So I hope this has offered you something to chew on for the week. If you have a song pop in your head during this week, I invite you to put it on and listen. If you don't, I invite you to step outside, hear the sounds of nature, or even start to listen to the sound of your own breath. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Until then.